it looks like there might be a light at the end of the tunnel for sales tax on Amazon, but on Shopify, or maybe even selling digital products, when do you got to start thinking about that? Or how do you navigate off of Amazon?
Right. There's a lot of things, people want to do. They want to have a Shopify site because they feel like they make more money if they can sell direct, and then they want to grow it. And a lot of sellers I meet, they're 95% Amazon, 5% Shopify. And here's the problem is that we've got marketplace facilitator laws kicking in a number of states. We've got California on October 1st, which is a big deal, right? So we're starting to see the end finally of this tail sale, sellers need to collect sales tax on Amazon nonsense. But that's marketplace facilitator. You sell on Shopify, and let's put the whole question of nexus aside. Let's assume that there's a nexus problem. Let's assume that, when do you collect, and should you be collecting? And it's just to know that that's an issue out there, that, marketplace facilitator doesn't solve the problem completely. People who do substantial sales on Shopify need to think about sales tax. I know a lot of the states have these laws about 200 transactions. The good news is that the states are realizing that 200 transactions, when you sell a $20 item, it's not really fair to make somebody who sells $220 pairs of socks to have to collect sales tax and be subject to that state's tax laws with such a minimal amount of involvement. Probably all your profit would be spent on tax compliance. And they recognize that there would be a constitutional challenge there. But certainly I would say if you take away the 200 transactions, well, in most states it's $100,000. So, if you're doing $100,000 on Shopify in a state, you probably certainly want to talk to a professional about collecting. Where it gets really muddy is what if you're doing $100,000 on Amazon and $2,000 on Shopify? Well, then it kind of becomes a materiality question. is it worth dealing with a state at that point, or let them come after you and send you a bill? If it's going to cost you a couple $100 a year, my law partner, actually Jeff Schick, he's a multi-million-dollar seller, seven-figure seller. He never shut down his tax software after Washington State started collecting. Washington State has another tax other than their sales tax called the business occupation tax. It's a really small tax, but you have to pay it, not the consumer. He spent, I think, a couple $100 to collect $12 for the state of Washington last year. They're laughing at the bill. It was just like, oops. So obviously there's going to be a materiality component to, is the state a big deal? But, if you're doing 100,000 on Shopify, if you're doing 50,000 on Shopify, if you're doing 20,000, you start to think, okay, well, what is my exposure each year? So think about your exposure, how much are you selling into each state on your Shopify account, and talk to a tax professional, figure out when is it the right time to collect, or, and it's going to be a combination of things. It's going to be, does the state laws separate Shopify and a non-Shopify? I was just in an article, in a tax analyst article, nerdy tax publication, where Indiana was saying we separate Shopify's threshold from Amazon's threshold. I met with Senator Bramble in Utah. He told me personally that they had, it's separated by channel. But California set the threshold at 500,000. They don't separate it. So, it's a bit of a mess. Unfortunately, I wish Shopify would get on top of it, but a lot of people want to drop their Shopify accounts. It's like Dropify season because they just don't even want to deal. Like, if the only reason I have to deal with sales tax is Shopify, maybe I should just stick to all marketplace, and that's an option too. So definitely, do some math, look at your situation, but just know that marketplace facilitator fixes one part of the problem. If you're interested in having a successful Shopify site, it's another inquiry we got to go down. It's another road we got to go down.
Okay, well, now you guys know that it's complicated and always changing. So look at your situation, risk reward, consult legal advice, and don't take advice from me. Just get things to think about from me.
Can we have a disclaimer running across our whole thing that just says not legal advice? Please consult your...
Yes, we will. Yes, that is also a thing that we will have a disclaimer on all of this.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you.